Support for this episode is provided by Pennsylvania College of Art and Design and listeners like you.
Welcome to the Lancast. I'm David Moulton. On this episode, I'm joined by Bryan Jones, a Lancaster native who pursued film as a career and now lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. During this episode, Bryan shares a little bit about how he used to dream of working in the film industry and how he made that dream a reality.
I just knew, deep down inside, that I wanted to work in the film industry just because I just love talking about movies, going to see movies, all that good stuff. So I just applied to a school in Florida. So I did that, and then after I graduated in March of 2010, I decided to move out to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I am now, because the film industry was doing pretty well out here.
Later, Bryan tells us about how he and some others are trying to make a film called Bicycle Day.
Is the untold story of how Dr. Albert Hoffman discovered LSD, or acid. So it's a story that not a lot of people know, the origins of. It's based on the true story of how we discovered it, but we're taking a few liberties with it, having it filmed here in New Mexico, because the original story takes place in 1943 Switzerland, which we obviously, can't afford to go to. So
enjoy the conversation. Well, Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Let's talk a little bit how we met. We met through a mutual friend. Feels like forever ago. You guys were both working at Circuit City, and like most people who worked at Circuit City, both of you had dreams of working in film. And
yes.
I have to say, I'm proud of both of you because you both actually went out there and did it.
It feels surreal still to this day,
I'm sure. What was the journey that took you from Lancaster to Albuquerque?
I was in Lancaster for most of my life, 13 years or so. I left after high school and I went to photography school. Then I came back and then I kind of discovered that photography was more of a hobby than actually what I wanted to do. So I just kind of I just knew deep down inside that I wanted to work in the film industry just because I just love talking about movies, going to see movies, all that good stuff. So I just applied to a school in Florida called Full Sail University, and I was down there for 2 years. It was a 2-year program, nonstop. We had maybe 3 weeks off total for the year for vacations. But besides that, you just hit the ground running and kept going and going. So I did that, and then after I graduated in March of 2010, I decided to move out to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I am now, just because the film industry was doing pretty well out here. So I just, I came out here, and thankfully things have been very fortunate for me since I've moved out here in the film industry.
I would have never guessed Albuquerque to be a big film place. I mean, you think New York, L.A., and I don't know. What makes that area so special?
Well, New York and L.A. is definitely, two of the top ones, but it's in more of the recent, decade or so, the last decade or so, I'd say, there's these film incentives where have been popping up at, all these other states. Now it's not just, L.A. and New York. It's, Albuquerque, New Orleans, and Atlanta, and even Portland is becoming an up and coming city for the film industry. And what it really is that the state says that if you come and film your production here, the amount of money that you spend there, they will give you a certain percentage back. Here in New Mexico, it's 25% of what you spend here, you will recoup just by coming to the state and filming here. So in other states, I think New Orleans has a 35% rebate. So it just kind of depends, and it's kind of become this real big thing where all these productions really aren't filming too much in LA anymore. It used to be this big film town, but it's it's slowly died down. I mean, but it's interesting because all of the cities kind of have they go through ups and downs. Where they'll have a couple of years where it'll be booming out here, and then it will just die for a little while. Like, we had some pretty big stuff come through town last year, but this past summer there was only like 2 major productions going on in Albuquerque, and then just until like recently, like I'd say about September, that productions really started coming back into town. So it's very interesting field to work in, because you never know like how much work you're going to get, or how often the work's going to come.
But what about, I mean, being a new film area, is it flooded with people that want to do the work? Are you constantly competing for jobs?
Yes and no. I'm always competing with people for certain jobs that I want on set. Like, I want to work in the camera department, and I usually do that a lot. But I work as a camera PA out here, which is, the lowest possible position in the camera department I could work in. So there's a lot of other people out here that actually want to do the same thing. So I'm usually competing with those same people out here. But other than that, like, when I go on to set out here, I see a lot of the same familiar faces. And then the other thing is, like, there's a lot of people that come in from like LA and other states and stuff like that to work on these productions too.
How often is it that like a big film will bring people from wherever they are originating to the area that you're at, or when they move, do they just find all new people? Part of the thing with the film incentive in every state is that they have to hire a certain percentage of employees that live in that state. So they can't like bring their entire crew from like, say, LA to New Mexico to work on their production. But every production I've worked on, they've brought in like, anywhere from like 20 to like 50 people from out of state to come and work on stuff. So, and it's like any movie, they want the best of the best to come and work and, make the best product possible, for everyone's enjoyment, Yeah. So. Well, I know that you said that you do several different things depending on what production you're working on, but typically what's a day like in the film industry?
A day in the film industry. Well, with what I'm working on now, I've been waking up at about 4 a.m, so that I can drive an hour to set, and then usually I'm on set for 12 hours at least a day. Usually it's about the first 6 hours is just like we get breakfast provided for us, and then we like make our way to the set, and then everyone in every different department is just organizing different things for that day. And on any typical day, we'll shoot like between like maybe like 5 to 8 pages of a script's worth on that day, and then it's a very hard thing to explain because there's so many different steps that go into it, but so we'll usually get about, depending on the movie, like 30 to 60 setups done. And a setup is like anytime they move the camera to a different position to film a different particular scene. So we'll get to set, and then we'll get going, and then like depending on how big of a scene it is and like how many like camera moves and like or how intense a camera move is, will really depend like how long it'll take us to do any particular setup. And then, once the director and the DP, the director of photography, is happy with like how it was filmed, we'll move on to the next one. And then we work 6 hours, and then we get our lunch break, which is usually about a half hour to an hour. And then we'll just get back into it again after that. And then usually it's another 6 hours, but there are definitely times where we'll go like 14 to 16 hours in any given day. And then, we wrap up for the day, head back home, get, as much sleep as we possibly can. Sometimes it's like 8 hours, other times it's 6 or 4. And then we'll just kind of turn around and do it again the next day, and the days can be just as long. So
one thing I've heard when working like this, when you have a job, you basically give up even pretending to have a life while you have it, just because you don't know when the next job's going to come and you just need to be totally focused. Is that how it is for you?
Yeah. I mean, when you're on set, like it's you're working. So yeah, we do kind of put our entire lives on hold because 12 hours a day on and then, getting as much sleep as possible to just come around and do it again the next day, 5 days a week. I mean, you really only get weekends. And then sometimes, like, those are kind of forfeit too. But I mean, that it kind of just comes with the industry. I'll like work on something, and sometimes I'll just like email or text people just being like, hey, I'm on a production, if you don't hear from me a while, I'm okay. Like if you need to get a hold of me, just send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. It's just, you really do have to put your life on hold because the movie just goes until it's done. No matter how many days, the production is, it could be as little as like 12, 20 days or something like that. And then the Lone Ranger, they just shot a total of 150 days. Now that's like 8 months worth of work, So people just kind of like, they go and go, and then they're pretty exhausted by the end of it. But a lot of people just, after they're done, they just turn on to the next thing. Like it's very interesting. I never really expected it to be like that. Going into it.
Have you become disillusioned to film at all, working behind the scenes?
Disillusioned how?
I don't know. Do you find any of the magic gone?
I feel like I haven't really become disillusioned yet. Maybe I will in a couple more years, but for me, it's like getting to watch how these things are done is getting to watch movie magic instead of like just seeing it on screen. You get to experience and see how it's actually done, it's very interesting. I still find that there's certain times on set where I'm just blown away by what we do. Like when I worked on Avengers last summer, and that was an amazing experience on itself. But I got to be on set for the scene at the end of the movie where they do a 360 shot around all the heroes, Hulk and Iron Man, Captain America, all that. And now it's just like getting to watch that be filmed, and like I'm just watching it and like seeing it happen. And I'm just like, this scene is just going to be so memorable. Like I can just tell already, like it's just crazy, like, I don't know. It's hard to put into words.
And that was an amazing movie. And your name was in the credits, right? Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was my first ever screen credit title. And I'm very excited about that. It's an amazing movie to have your first, to have my name in the credits for the first time.
Did you get screen credit for The Dark Knight Rises? No,
I did not. But I was one of like 125 additional PAs. And I only worked about a month on that. So there was other people that worked a lot longer than I did. So I wasn't really expecting my name to be in it, but, just to know that I was there and, got to see some awesome things is, enough for me.
One of the awesome things that I've seen a picture of from that endeavor is you got to sit on the Bat Pod.
Yes.
How awesome was that?
It was pretty awesome. I mean, it was the last day that I was there for filming, and I'd seen a few other crew members that had photos on it and stuff, and luckily, I just, like, that day I was put in a position close to where it was. And I just, it was one of those things. It's just like, I have to try because, why would I not try? I mean, it's right there. I talked to the guys that created it and like built it. And, I just had to be like, hey, do you mind if I, hop on there real quick and get a photo? And it was actually really funny because, we weren't really paying attention that much for some reason, and then all of a sudden, a few of the tumblers came flying down the road. They had started filming, and then a pursuit vehicle, just a vehicle that has a crane on top of it with a camera attached to the end of it, so they can get like those high-speed chase scenes that you see in all the movies. They came running down the road, and Christopher Nolan actually happened to be on it, and he like looked over and saw me on his Bat Pod, and I'm like, so I just got off there as quickly as I possibly could. But it's just like he kind of like locked eyes with me, and just like it's just like, oh my god, like so. So Christopher Nolan will know me as that guy that was sitting on his like Bat Pod.
Well, I know some people are probably curious when you work behind the scenes and there's actors walking around. What are the rules for how much you can interact with them? Can you talk to them? Can you approach them?
One of the things that Full Sail really beat into all the students' brains is that you don't want to be that guy that gets all starstruck and just gets super excited and just like, because like people like will go up to actors and like be like, oh my god, like this and that, and like try to take photos with them and all this stuff, and it's just like, and then they're not there the next day. This is a job, so at your job you want to be as professional as possible. So there have been times where I've been standing next to like big name actors, and I just, you just got to play it cool, because they're just like any other person. Like they're here to do a job, you're here to do a job, so you better do it. There's been a few times where I've gotten a little starstruck and I just get like this big smile on my face just because like someone comes up to me. But I mean, generally I don't approach an actor until they come and approach me first and start asking me questions. And that's pretty much the general rule everyone does on set. Just because, they're in their mindset. Like some actors just really get into character and they want to stay in character the whole time. And you don't want to interrupt that because you help that delays the production even further, making your own day even longer. So, so on set, I'm just as professional as I can be.
What actor or actress has been the most difficult to maintain your professionalism around?
I'd probably say, I don't know. There was a time on Avengers where Mark Ruffalo just came like running up to me to borrow a Sharpie, and that was it. And he just like had this huge like grin on his face, and he was just so down to earth. And I was just like, "What the hell's going on right now?" Like, so like, I was kind of blown away by that. And then there's times like probably around Joss Whedon that I, was kind of, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm like working with this guy right now. It's kind of crazy. But there was one time when I came back early from set on Avengers, and I was working in the visual effects department, so I got to play with a lot of the fun toys on set. Like we had a Hulk bust, which was like a little bit below his neck on his chest, up to the top of his head, and it was just a real life version of what the Hulk was supposed to look like, so that in post they could, get the best digital representation or like actual representation of what he was supposed to look like. But it also came with these huge Hulk like hands, which I'm sure everyone's seen like the toys and stuff like that, where it's like his fist and stuff like that. But this one on set was all the way to his elbow. And so his elbow to his fist, and so I was kind of messing around with that on set when I came back from lunch early, and then Josh like came back a little bit early too, and I was just like, oh crap, so I started like turning around, and he said pretty much the most awesome thing he could have said, and it's just like, it's like, don't be shy about that. And he's like, like it was awesome. He was just like, he's like, you should have fun on this. And like he came over and like I took off one of the gloves and I handed it to him, and then of course, I was just like, hey Josh, and I got him to give me a fist bump while we were wearing the Hulk hands.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, we're going to head to break, and when we come back, we're going to have some more with Bryan.
Whoa, David, what have you got there?
A pina colada?
No, not the drink.
Oh, this. Yeah, I've been meaning to tell you about this. We just got our shipment of 3x10 bumper stickers in.
Oh, sweet. Now I can put one on my car and pick up chicks.
Keith, you're married.
Whoa, it's working already.
Well, if you want a chick magnet Lancast bumper sticker like Keith, they're free. Just email us at bumpersticker@thelancast.com. Hey, Keith, get back here with the box of stickers. I need one for my car.
Too late!
And we're back on the Lancast with Bryan Jones. Bryan, one of the reasons that we decided to talk today was because you have a film that you're trying to start getting going. I guess you're working on with some other people called Bicycle Day. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. That's Bicycle Day is. I've been working out here in New Mexico, not only in the film industry, like professionally and the big budget stuff, but I've also been working with some people that I met here on independent movies, where we're the heads of the departments. I'm me particularly, I've been the director of photography, and that's the guy that's in charge of the lighting and the camera moves and just like the overall look of the movie. And then, like my good buddy Steve Terselli is the director I've been working with, and he usually writes the stuff that we film. So, Bicycle Day is the untold story of how Dr. Albert Hoffman discovered LSD or acid. So, it's a story that not a lot of people know, like the origins of. It's based on the true story of how we discovered it, but we're taking a few liberties with it, you know, having it filmed here in New Mexico, you know, because the original story takes place in 1943 Switzerland, which we obviously, you know, can't afford to go to. So, but so we're just trying to tell a story that no one else has really ever heard or ever told before. And our Kickstarter page goes into a little bit more detail of the origins. I don't want to give it all away, you know, and ruin the story for anybody that wants to see it. But it's definitely a very interesting story, which I did not know about until Steve did some research on it.
So what inspired you guys to take a look at this particular story? I mean, you said you wanted to do something different, and you wanted to do something people hadn't really heard about, but why a drug origin story?
Well, what it really comes down to is that we've been producing and shooting our own movies here for about the last 2 years, and we had some pretty good success. We entered a film challenge here back in March, and we actually won the film challenge, so we get $1,000 credit towards a lighting and grip house here in New Mexico. So we have a budget already for that, but we just kind of wanted to expand on it, and you know, like we feel like we've gotten better and better with each story we've told, but for all of us, we're kind of getting ready to leave New Mexico. Like me personally, probably in the next couple, like 6 months to 8 months, I'm probably going to move to Atlanta to start working out in the film industry out there. So we decided that since we're here in New Mexico, we wanted to make our final film and really use New Mexico's landscape to its advantage, because there are so many places here in New Mexico that look like other places in the country and other places in the world, where you wouldn't think it would look like that. I mean, there's definitely like heavy forested areas. There's, you know, desert lands, and it's crazy. But we decided to go with Bicycle Day because it's a story that Steve has been wanting to tell for, you know, 2 to 3 years now. And it's something that we've always like loved talking about and loved hearing about. And, you know, we decided to go with it because, you know, not a lot of people do know about like the origins of LSD. And, you know, like it wasn't really, you know, Albert Hoffman that wanted to, you know, make it this big drug thing. He wanted to use it. He really wanted to push for the psychedelics effects and, you know, kind of seeing how like a human being can open their mind more with LSD. It was kind of, you know, the hippies in the 60s and 70s that really like got it pushed to be like a big drug thing, you know. But so we kind of like wanted to tell the story of, you know, how it came into being and how like, you know, it was originally supposed to you know, affect the world, and not how it actually ended up affecting the world.
So what's your end goal? Movie done, you know, all ready to go? Are you going to show it at all the big festivals that you can get it to? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'd love to show it at Sundance. You know, like our big goal is that I mean, we would love for one day, someone to see one of our movies and just be like, these guys really have something, like they can put something good together. And, like the real big goal is to make our own stuff all the time, so that we don't have to work on so that the big budget movies that we're working on are our own movies, not somebody else's, because there's always, going to be the next Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, like all those types of people are out there right now, like they just need somebody to see them and recognize like what they can do, and then they can get like the serious backing that they need to make, the stories they want to tell, and that's what we're going for here, like we just need the backing, we're just not at the level yet to, go to a big like executive producer and have them like already fund it for us. So that's why we're looking for as much help as we can get.
Well, earlier you mentioned how large how many people can. Hold on a second. Earlier you mentioned how you were working on Batman and there were like 150 or 200 or so people doing the same job as you, plus all the other people. So whittle it down to a smaller independent production like what you're working on. And how many people is it going to take to make this a reality?
I think right now we have a crew list that's looking at about 15 to 20 people. And it's not that we don't want more people, it's just that we can only afford so many people. And it's hard to ask a lot of people to come and work for free on something, because it takes a lot of time out of the day. And, it's something like this, like we want to shoot for 8 days total, and that's a lot of time to ask a lot of different people to free their schedules for. So that's why we kind of have to go for a smaller crew on this. So for this movie, we want to film 5 days on a set. It's 3 different sets. We're going to do a couple days on the road, and we're only going to need about 5 to 6 people for that. And that's just because, we're going to be shooting outside. We don't need someone to come and dress the set to make it look like, a laboratory or something or this and that. We're kind of just using more of the elements. And then we also don't need someone to come and light, and like move, adjust lights or, stuff to block lights, which we call flags, to necessarily be there. It's going to be more like me, the director, and then like an assistant camera person, and then just someone to drive us around everywhere, and then the actor himself.
Well, how much time is it going to take in post-production, do you think?
Well, one of the reasons we're calling it Bicycle Day is because there is the first time that that Albert Hoffman ever took LSD in a mass quantity. The whole story takes place during 1943 Switzerland. So it was during World War II, and there was an automobile ban, so everyone had to get around on a bicycle. And it's a dream of ours to actually. So Bicycle Day is actually April 19th, 1943, and it just so happens that this year, April 19th is a Friday. So we would love to be able to have it out by then, but it's all kind of dependent on a few things. We're going to do a day on a green screen. So we're having a bunch of animators that we already have lined up to hand draw and animate scenes where he'll be riding his bicycle through like these crazy, crazy places that, aren't real, but in his mind, they look real. So we're trying to really get the LSD effect, out there. So it depends on how long it takes our animators to do all that stuff. But we're looking at December shoot dates. And then it usually takes us about a month and a half to get a good solid edit together. And then from there we would go into visual effects post. So, I'd say, hopefully 4 to 5 months we could have the finished project out by.
How can people learn more about the film or check out your Kickstarter page? Where can they go to do that?
Well, you can go on Facebook and check out Solano Pictures. That's SOLANO. And then we have a page there, and there's a link there to our Kickstarter for Bicycle Day. Or you can just go to Kickstarter.com/Bicycle Day, and it'll take you straight to the page. Right now, we have a a couple of teaser trailers up, which are just like little one-shots. And then, actually, by the time this podcast airs, we'll have a full trailer released for the film. And it's just something we did with a friend. It was just over the course of 2 days to just kind of help us promote the movie and show people, what we're trying to capture and film. And it's our teaser trailers are a real delight, and I think our full trailer is definitely it's something else. So.
All right. Well, there you have it. Well, before we check out here and stuff, what's next for you? You said you're looking at did you say Atlanta? Right?
Uh-huh.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, how do you know where the next big place is going to be? Like where the next right move is?
Well, you kind of just listen to people, and you look at productions, and like for me, like I'm always constantly looking where the next productions are, and I have a subscription to IMDb Pro, so it tells you like what movies are in pre-production, and that tells you what cities they're going to go to. But it's a lot of word of mouth from people on set. Now, right now, me personally, like I'm working on a movie called Lone Survivor, and then after that, I'm hoping to work as a camera PA on the last 8 episodes of Breaking Bad out here in New Mexico. And then after that, I just recently visited Atlanta at the beginning of the year just to check it out, because I've heard a lot of things about stuff going on there. So I'd like to go out there and, kind of really, because I'm not in the camera department like all the time, because I do a lot of visual effects sometimes, but it's a little bit hard to get into camera out here in New Mexico. So I went out there and I visited the Panavision camera rental house out there, and there's so many good things. So I just kind of went out there and I felt it out, and I just felt like it was definitely a good fit for me. And it's just like, it's a place that I felt like I could go to and learn a lot and expand my knowledge. And, and of course, I hope to go out there and then work on The Walking Dead. So, like it's not just, for me, it's not just about where I think, the next place is really going to be. It's about what I want to do and what I would like to work on, because, that's the dream, to work on an amazing project that you feel is amazing, because if your heart and mind, isn't really into it, then it affects your work, I feel.
Wise words. Well, Bryan, thanks again for coming on the show. If any of our listeners would like to seek you out for any type of knowledge or advice you might have about film, how could they do that?
Well, you can check me out on Facebook under Bryan P. Jones. Or I am also listed under IMDb if you want to check out some of the movies that I've worked on. And then other than that, I'm also listed on Albuquerque's film directory for camera assistants. So if you go out there, then you can find my email and email me personally. And I'd love to answer any questions you may have, or tell you, the process, a little bit more detail of how I got to where I am now. And, I'm a Lancaster native. I miss the place sometimes, but I can also understand if there's people out there that want to get out. So.
Well, thanks again, Bryan.
Thank you for having me, David.
We hope you've been enjoying the Lancast.
This episode was produced by myself, David Moulton, with show notes by Keith and Lauren Slesser.
All pertinent links to this episode can be found in the show notes at thelancast.com.
If you specifically liked this episode, we ask that you consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps. Even $1 a show can keep us going.
If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by going to thelancast.com/donate.
And don't forget to subscribe in iTunes and tell a friend about the show.
So, for the Lancast, I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser.
Asking, are you in the cast?